Let's talk about the pros and cons of the Niners trading Trey Lance on draft night. This has been sort of Larry Kruger's topic, and I commend him for having the stones to put himself out there and say he thinks it's going to happen. Controversial stance to take, and you argued with him yesterday, did a great job. I'm going to play a little bit of devil's advocate here and see if I can sort of be on Larry's side just to have the discussion, because I think it's a really interesting discussion. I think there's actually fair points to be made on both sides. So let's do it, man. Let's talk about, why don't you start with the cons of trading the Niners trading Trey Lance on draft night? You go first. I'm taking home field advantage here. You put your cards on the table.
I got about 8 of them. So you want them all at once?
Go ahead. You lay all your cards down.
All right. First reason why I think it's crazy that they're going to trade Trey Lance on draft night is because Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance laughed together at the rumors of him being traded to the Titans. They had a conversation. Do you hear you're going to be traded to the Titans? And they laughed about it together. So
yeah, that is true.
Kyle Shanahan thought that was funny. Second reason is I think there's zero chance that Kyle Shanahan, with this complex offense that no one can understand, rolls into OTAs and training camp with Sam Darnold, who's never played for the 49ers, and a rookie quarterback, because Brock Purdy is not going to be there, right? So you're going to have 2 quarterbacks who don't know anything about Kyle's complex system running OTAs and training camp. That's not going to get them prepared for the season.
All right, let me just jump in right here. I guess I'll just jump in so I don't forget. And this is nothing personal. I'm just trying to do my best to do a devil's advocate. What Kyle could say to that is, well, look at the success I had last year with Brock. Who's to say I can't bring in another rookie? All I need is a guy who's started and has experience. Doesn't mean he's going to find the next Brock. But I'm talking. I'm Kyle's lawyer right now, and my client thinks he can do it again. Ryan, go ahead.
Well, let me get back to you on that one then.
Yeah.
So Brock Purdy he was drafted in April. He had all of OTAs. He had all of training camp. He was on a practice squad for what, 10 weeks?
True, and he didn't start during the season.
That's a big difference from, hey, come in and run OTAs and training.
Okay, let me give you another rebuttal real quick to just go in. Your Honor, the Niners start 3-5 every year anyway. Who cares who starts early in the season? Their guy's going to struggle one way or another, whether it's Trey, Brock, Sam Darnold, CJ Beathard. They're starting 3-5. You go.
Hey, well, I don't necessarily disagree with that, but I don't think Kyle Shanahan.
Even Kyle knows it, man. It's like the lamest, softest training camp of all time. Like, no one plays in the preseason. He's definitely not playing for January and September is the way I look for it. It's almost like he counts on it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Kyle wants to do that, but it happens. So it wouldn't. I mean, that's a good point, but I don't think that's.
It's like, I think his bargain is like, better to have a soft offseason and but have my guys get injured early in the year than have them get injured in the offseason.
It's working great.
You know what I'm saying? Because he had some years where he's had guys getting injured in training camp, and I think he's thinking like, man, if I could just get to week 1, I know the injuries will happen during the season, but at least, I don't know. Maybe that's not what he's thinking.
It happens either way.
Okay.
He doesn't have whatever he's doing isn't working. I'll put it that way.
All right, you're back.
All right. The other one is the amount. People try to act like, I don't understand why people try to act like this doesn't matter. It absolutely matters to me. Like, the amount you invested into Trey Lance, 3 draft picks you spent, 3 firsts, plus a third. And then you're going to turn around and trade it for a third after paying him, what, $28 million to get.
You look incompetent. You look incompetent. You look stupid.
You look dumb.
That being said, let me jump in real quick. I don't think Kyle cares. I don't think John cares. They're very confident people, and I think they feel like their reputation is ironclad. The person who might care is Jed. And this is the big Trump one. I think, Kyle could have a deal on he could say, I want to trade Trey for a 3rd-round pick right now. John could sign off, and they go to Jed and be like, hey, we're down. We're down with all the repercussions. We'll take the 3rd-round pick right now. And Jed could be like, no.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, like, it's not even that it's dumb, but it's a bad deal, right? It's bad math. It's just a waste of draft picks. Why would you do that? At least give him an opportunity to show what he can do on the field for a few weeks. And then you have a higher trade value for Trey Lance. Like, if Brock Purdy's not there and he beats out Sam Darnold and he plays for 4 weeks, now your value for Trey Lance has gone up and you can get more draft.
Objection, Your Honor. Objection.
Yeah.
As Kyle Shanahan's attorney, there's also the possibility that we play Trey Lance and his value goes down because he's not good. What if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch – hold on. What if Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch have evaluated – their evaluation of Trey right now is that he's QB3 and he's no good. They could be wrong. But if that's what they feel deep down, then they're not optimistic about him getting on the field or having another opportunity, even though they say they are. And I don't know how they really feel, because they have to say they're optimistic if he's on the trade block. They have to say one way or another. They have to say they're optimistic. I don't know how they really feel. And from their actions, one might conclude that they're down on him.
Well, let me say that then. You just said if they want to trade him, they have to be optimistic of him in public. Have they been optimistic of him in public?
Well, bringing in Sam Darnold doesn't exactly project confidence.
Right.
No.
So it's not like they're trying to build up his value to trade him. By all those, whenever they're trying to trade somebody, they're building up it. Look what they did with Jimmy when they were trying to trade him. They just talk glowing things about Jimmy Garoppolo. Who are they trying to get rid of? They're not doing that with Trey Lance. And I feel like that's one indicator that they're not trading him, because if they wanted
there's
to,
not that much you can say. No offense to Trey, but he's played 4 games. There's not that much, and he hasn't played in a long time. There's not that much you can say other than, hey, he's still a great kid. He's attacking his rehab, and we're excited to have him on the field. That's all you can really say.
You can say, hey, we've seen Trey Lance for 2 years now. We know he's going to be good. That's why we drafted him. He's going to be great. They can say all that. That's what they say.
Yeah, but I don't think Kyle can say that with a straight face. You know Kyle.
Maybe
I don't think Kyle could do that.
All right.
I don't think he believes it.
Well, you don't.
Maybe he's wrong. I mean, again, he thought Nate Sudfeld was going to be very successful. It doesn't mean he's right. I'm not talking about right here. I'm talking about what Kyle thinks, and I'm his attorney right now. He's whispering in my ear.
All right. The other thing is, we kind of touched on this, but trading Trey Lance would be Kyle admitting he's wrong.
Yep.
You've spoken a lot about.
True.
Even as his attorney, you've spoken publicly a lot about how Kyle Shanahan does not like to admit he's wrong. He's stubborn, right?
Yeah, publicly, verbally. But that being said, he got rid of Trey Sermon, Dante Pettis, Joe Williams. Like, he has done it. The person who I think might be insecure about this is Jed and his parents, because they're the ones that made the big investment in Jimmy. They're the ones that made the big investment in Trey. And I think they're the ones that look incompetent. Because Kyle, everyone says he's a genius no matter what he does. He could have a losing record. He's a genius. Jed, not so much. The Yorks, all of their reputation is contingent on them looking competent and being in the playoffs, and I don't know if they want to take the PR hit. I don't think Kyle cares, frankly. Kyle, do you care? He didn't tell me. But I don't think he cares. The Yorks are the ones who might care, and they're the ones who might hold this thing up. They might say, you know what, dude, no. We gave this guy $25 million. We gave you 3 first-round picks. You played him 4 games. You're going to trade him for a 3rd-round pick? No, we want to see him on the field. And that could, But I don't know if they would. They may not override Kyle either. Kyle seems to get whatever he wants on this team.
How does your client feel about his attorney publicly in the past saying that he's very stubborn, and now
we like each other. It's all right. Kyle likes that I keep it 100.
Yeah. All right. Here's the other thing: the cost involved. If you're going to trade Trey Lance, it's much more cost effective to do it after June 1st than it is to do it at draft night. It doesn't make sense from a cost standpoint to trade him during the draft.
Because if you trade him during the draft, you're taking an $11 million cap hit to get a 3rd-round pick. I get it. That sounds awful. But think about it this way. If you wait until after the draft, the quarterback market dries up, because all the teams that needed quarterbacks drafted quarterbacks. And very few quarterback trades happen after the draft. I think his value would probably go down because it's supply and demand. There's less demand. So if he was, let's say the offer was a 3rd, it could go down to a 5th. And if you wait until next year and say, you know what, cap's hit would be less next year, let's just play it safe. We might need to play him. Again, there's a possibility he plays and doesn't play well, plays and gets hurt, doesn't play, Brock Purdy plays, sits on the bench all year, and the value goes down again. So 3rd sounds bad. It could get worse. It got worse with Jimmy. That's all I'm saying. And I'm here to be negative.
All right.
I don't think it's necessarily going to get worse for Trey, but it could. We can't see the future.
I honestly think with Trey Lance, it can't get worse. It can't get worse.
Ooh.
How?
What happens if he gets hurt again? That's bad.
Well, if he gets hurt, that's one thing, right?
So it's happened a lot of times.
All right, Kyle's attorney, you made a great point for me.
Yeah,
I'm getting hurt, right?
Yep.
How many quarterbacks did the 49ers use last year? Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4.
That's
5.
true.
5,
That's true.
Including CMC, right?
Yes, true.
CMC was the 5th quarterback.
Kyle almost had to run out in the field and take some snaps.
Right. Right. So to me, the notion that you're going to go into the season with all right, cool, we got Brock Purdy coming off an injury. Who knows how he's going to be when he comes back, or if he's going to come back at all. And we got Sam Darnold. We're good. That's just absolutely crazy.
It's true.
I could not see that as the plan, right? So to me, they have a really cheap quarterback room with Trey Lance. You can have Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, Sam Darnold, all for under $15 million, less than Jimmy Garoppolo cost by himself. And you could have a rookie on the practice squad. That's 4 guys for less than what Jimmy Garoppolo is making right now on the Raiders.
My attorneys tapped me on the shoulder. My attorney tapped me on the shoulder. He's saying, look, right. The idea of Trey was really enticing 2 years ago. But at this point, coming off this injury, we don't even know what his confidence is going to be like, what his speed is going to be like. His speed isn't really what I thought it was going to be. He's not the dual threat quarterback I thought he was going to be. I'm not going to tailor the offense to him. I'm not going to build a new offense. All of that is over with. And we're going the Brock Purdy direction. In which case, dude, I can just draft another quarterback this year who's not like Trey, but more like Brock and Darnold, and feel like, man, it is a complex offense, but we're going to start 3-5 anyway. And look at the success Brock Purdy had last year. I'm banking I can do that again. Right. And I'm speaking for my client right now, who didn't actually say any of that stuff. I'm sitting in a room by myself.
So the point you just made in regards to Trey Lance coming off an injury and not going to be the same, doesn't that exact same thing apply to Brock Purdy?
Hell yeah, it does.
It does.
That's why my client is so confident in Tanner McKee, Jaron Hall. I don't know who it's going to be.
Here's the other thing too. Stetson Bennett. I like
Stetson.
Yeah,
right. Stetson
Bennett. Got a little swag to him. I like Stetson
Bennett. Telling you, I bet you my client loves Stetson Bennett. Knowing my client the way I know my client, he loves Stetson Bennett.
He's kind of like Kyle, right? I bet he has a mean hat game, shoe game. All right, here's the thing.
Yes.
Here's the thing, what we were talking about. What the hell were we talking about? Go back to what our point was. We were
talking about I was saying why the Niners actually could trade Trey Lance on draft night, and you were saying, Dan, all the points you made were really smart, Grant. I actually agree with you. You won the debate. You're really handsome, is what all the things you were saying.
I got 2 more. Okay, here's what I want to
go ahead.
Here's what I want to go back to. The last time we saw Trey Lance.
Yeah.
Last season. Trey Lance is our guy. He's our quarterback moving forward. We're benching Jimmy Garoppolo. What could have possibly...
he also said, hey, if Lance had stayed healthy, he would have had just as good of a season as Brock. He just said that. Yeah, my client said that. Why'd you say that? I told you not to say that. All right. He said it, though.
He's not helping.
Not helping.
Not helping the point.
Confusing the issue.
And what has changed? According to Kyle, his view of Trey Lance since he drafted him, nothing has changed. And what really could have...
What has changed is that Brock Purdy burst on the scene and Sam Darnold is the greatest quarterback ever. That now there's competition. There's nothing against Trey. It's just that there's like the 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks in front of him. No, sorry, Trey.
Kyle believes Trey Lance can be great, according to him. Jed York believes that Trey Lance can be great, according to him.
Hey, Kyle thought Nate Sudfeld could be great, so you got to take his evaluations with a grain of salt. My client is not known for his evaluations. Are you, buddy?
So he's a bad witness.
He's an unreliable narrator. Yes, absolutely.
Witness,
yeah.
So here's the thing: is there's nothing that could have possibly changed their opinion about Trey Lance based on 1 game and a quarter. They believed he was the man, that he's going to be great. We're going to start him. Then he gets injured, and all of a sudden they think he's trash. I don't buy that. I don't buy that. Maybe John Lynch probably already has. He wanted Mac Jones. Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey Lance. He believes in Trey Lance. He speaks out highly on Trey Lance, even this week.
Okay, let me give you something. It's possible that Kyle thinks he broke both the quarterbacks. It's possible why is he talking up Darnold? Okay, let's bring it back to there. It's possible Kyle's like, man, I messed up last year. Like, I got Trey's leg broken. Yeah. I got Purdy's arm snapped in half. Like, both of these guys might come back a shell of themselves. I have no clue. But I got Sam Darnold. Hey, Sam Darnold, come on down. He's the one healthy guy. Hey, that could be the issue right now. Like, Kyle may be thinking, hey, you know what? Let's get someone else in here. I messed up. But you know what? Thankfully, the team is still good, and I'm great. And Sam Darnold, he's 25 years old. He could be pretty good.
Well, if that's the case, that you think he broke Trey Lance and Brock Purdy, why rely on Brock Purdy to come back and get rid of Trey Lance? You kind of need to see if one of those guys is going to work out.
Well, that's what John's saying. All I'm hearing from Kyle, is that Sam Darnold is the greatest quarterback of all time, and that they could draft a quarterback too. So it might be maybe Kyle's moved on. I mean, he plays the field very quickly at quarterback. I mean, the guy goes through quarterbacks quick. It's like 3 days and we're done. What did you say? Your breath stinks.
The difference between Nate Sudfeld and Sam Darnold is $1.5 million. What Kyle Shanahan said about Nate Sudfeld is almost identical to what he said about Sam Darnold. He gave Nate Sudfeld $2 million and cut him. He gave Sam Darnold 3.5, and who knows what's going to happen to Sam Darnold.
I'm telling you, Kyle Shanahan falls in and out of love with quarterbacks real fast. He thought Nate Sudfeld was going to be the next Johnny Unitas until he met Brock Purdy and realized that was the next Drew Brees. Until he meets Sam Darnold and realized that's the next Patrick Mahomes. Until he gets Tanner McKee in here and realizes that's the next Andrew Luck. Just Kyle Shanahan is just, I mean, he is a dog. Dog.
Ask your client who he really believes has the highest.
He ain't a player. He just crushes a lot. That's where Kyle Shanahan is at. I wouldn't call him a player. He just crushes a lot on every quarterback he's ever seen.
Often, yes.
Yeah.
Ask him who he believes has the highest potential.
Sam Darnold.
Shanahan sucks when it comes to
Sam Darnold.
He can't think Sam Darnold has higher potential than Trey Lance. I just don't think.
You don't know my client.
I don't buy it, man. I believe he's got to know deep inside. I think he wants to be right about. Here's another thing. I think he wants to be right about Trey Lance. Here's another thing. It costs the 49ers a lot more money if they play Sam Darnold than if they don't. So if Trey Lance,
not his money, and I think that not his money, and I think that Kyle thinks all he has to be right is he has to be right one time at the quarterback position, and he could be wrong a million times. If he gets it right once, if they get it right with Brock Purdy, no one cares about Trey Lance, and there might be some truth to that. Although I care because I'm playing dual roles here.
Well, man, there is truth to that. If Brock Purdy comes back and he's as good or better, and
no one cares.
The way he did, no one cares, right? I don't care. I don't really
and maybe
care.
That's what John's thinking right now. Oh, for what Kyle's thinking is, okay, if it's not Brock, it's either going to be Brock or Darnold because I'm so good. Because McCaffrey's so good.
There's ifs with all three quarterbacks, whether it's Trey Lance, Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold. There's no guarantee that any of them are going to be good or that they're going to be alive on Sunday.
But that's how Kyle likes it, right? That's how Kyle likes it. He wants those mysteries in life.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we've done it. I think that's every point you could possibly make. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, if they get the third round offer, will they take it? Will Jed accept it? I could see John and Kyle. I could see John doing it because I don't think John was ever into the Trey Lance experiment. I could see Kyle doing it if he's being honest about Sam Darnold, and I think he is. I just don't know if Jed's going to take that PR hit because, man, what people will say is, give Kyle and John credit for at least being decisive and moving on when they felt that they'd made a decision. But that was the worst trade of all time. Wow, that was the worst trade. I'm not saying Kyle and John are incompetent, but that was the worst. I mean, and you'd have to. It'll be a lot of that. A lot of that.
They have an opportunity to not make it the worst trade of all time, and the way you do that is by keeping them.
Yeah. Because think about it. Like, let's say they trade Trey on draft night, right? Not knowing what was going to happen with Brock, and Brock just isn't the same. Not ready. Not the same. And he's not even a factor this year. And you're down to Sam Darnold and a rookie. Yeah. And you can't replicate what you did with Brock Purdy last year because you're also the guy who drafted CJ Beathard and you have a down season. Meanwhile, Jimmy Garoppolo continues to win in Las Vegas and Trey Lance gets an opportunity wherever he goes and actually shows promise. You can just fire yourself at that point. So to me, it's a risky proposition. You could say, we've decided he's not our guy. He's QB3. This is the most we're going to get for him. Let's bite the bullet and do it now. Okay, well, you better be fucking right, man. You better be fucking right because if he goes somewhere and is good and Jimmy's good and you're stuck here with freaking Sam Darnold and he sucks like we all knew, you look like a freaking idiot. And it's like, how bold are you, man? Because you don't know what's going to happen. Like, do you really want to put yourself on the line like that?
Yeah, I don't think they do.
For Sam Darnold.
This is why, more than anything, that's why it's absolutely ridiculous to me that he's going to be traded. I don't think it's going to happen at all. I bet Larry lunch.
Very risky proposition. And the payoff is a third-round pick that comes at the expense of an $11 million dead cap hit. And you could say, hey, It's the best you're going to get. If you don't take this 3rd round pick now, get ready for a 5th round pick in the future. And again, the Niners could be stingy with the Jimmy Garoppolo thing and be like, we're not trading him for less than this because we know we're going to get this 3rd round comp pick for him down the line because we're playing him. The Niners aren't getting no 3rd round comp pick for Trey Lance if they keep him on the bench. They're getting nothing, maybe a 5th, maybe something like that. So they could say this is the most we'll get, but at the same time, you gave up 3 firsts. You never gave him a chance. He could really make you look dumb in the next place, and you don't have a lot of great fallback options right now.
I think
with you.
I think Kyle Shanahan Kyle Shanahan has a feeling that Brock Purdy's not going to be there week 1, and probably not till like week 2, 3, 4. So I think he's going to use this opportunity to be, all right, this is it. Let's see what we can get out of Trey Lance for 2 to 4 games in a row, and he can either take over as QB1, which Kyle Shanahan said he has an opportunity to do that. You probably wouldn't say that if you were going to trade him. But he did say Trey Lance has the opportunity to take over QB1. And so they can either do that, and if it's not great, at least build some value and get a trade for him if you're going to trade him at that time.
Last point, and I think we should move on. You can get the last word if you'd like, but they have to say he's competing. He has a shot to start because if you say we've relegated him to a backup, you just hurt his own trade value. I mean, you're saying like, nah, he's not worth a 3rd round pick. He's a backup quarterback. Please give us a 5th. I think a 6th is more fair because we've determined he's a backup quarterback. Don't say that out loud even if you think it, ever.
Well, I think, and I know we probably need to move on, but I think it's totally makes sense that Brock Purdy's starting quarterback. That didn't surprise me. There's so many things that are happening that a lot of people are taking as surprise that don't surprise me. Is Brock Purdy should be the starting quarterback if he was healthy? Yes. Is he healthy? No. Does Trey Lance have an opportunity to compete for the starting position since Brock Purdy's not healthy? Yes. Is Sam Darnold brought here as an insurance policy? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. They had to bring – people are like shocked. They got Sam Darnold. Like that's a sign that Trey Lance is out of here. I totally expected them to sign. Me and you sat around and talked about what quarterbacks they could bring in, and they were all around that caliber level. So it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody that they brought Sam Darnold in or any of this stuff, honestly.
Larry made this point, and it's a good one. When I asked John, are you going to trade Trey? And he said, we're good with Trey on our team right now.
Yeah,
man.
Right now,
if your boss said we're good with Ryan in our company right now, yeah. you would be looking for a new job. Like you'd be like, hey, can we talk? What the hell did you mean by right now?
Yeah.
So that's ominous. And again, maybe him and Kyle are on totally different pages here, but to me that sounds like he's on the trade block and we haven't gotten the offer we want. Maybe even nothing close to it. But
yeah,
things change. I mean, it's a deadline business.
Well, I want to talk about dynamics. Not necessarily. This isn't really quarterback stuff, so
yeah,
we can move on. But this is actually a dynamic. When you bring up Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch, how does Kyle Shanahan act when he's around players? How does he when he's around really good players? We kind of talked about this.
He acts like he wants to be their friend.
Brandon Marshall, right? I interviewed him.
Yeah,
spilled his beans. He wants to be their friend.
Even Debo, he says they're friends, which is strange. He's your player.
And John Lynch is a Hall of Fame football player. Right. I feel like Kyle Shanahan has opinions and has thoughts that are different from John Lynch, but he has a very tough time saying that to John Lynch or overriding John Lynch because he is that.
It's John Lynch
football
because it's John Lynch. It's possible.
Yeah.
Kenny G says, remember he said skill set probably meant more physical than mental. Kyle Shanahan talking up Sam Darnold, so when he chooses Trey Lance, he can say he beat him straight up. Yeah, I'm sure that's possible. That's true. If they don't trade Trey Lance and Trey Lance beats out Darnold, it makes Trey Lance look legitimate. You know, he doesn't look entitled.
Locker room dynamic.
Scribe Mind says, how do you hand the guy the keys last year with no competition and now suddenly he's your 3rd quarterback? That means they really blew it last year. Yeah, they're so inconsistent. It's like, when were you lying? Were you lying last year when you said he was QB1 with no competition, like we love him? Or are you like being facetious, like what's going on? That's true. Their story changes a lot.
Yeah.
The story about Trey Lance has been extremely inconsistent.
It's weird.
Jordan Matthew says, Shanahan is the antithesis of entitled. What they've done to Trey shows you how secure they are in their jobs under York. No accountability. Shaking my head.
I mean, a lot of people, this is a fireable offense for a lot of coaches. You know, right?
Especially when there's, like the replacement is a guy who just had surgery on his elbow. Really? Yeah. You don't have Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of coaches. I mean, Kyle Shanahan's done enough to where it's not the case. But you know, if he wasn't going to NFC Championship games and he did this, he'd be out.
Jordan Matthew meant prototype. Shanahan is the prototype of entitled. What they've done to Trey shows you just how secure they are in their jobs under York. No accountability. Yeah, I mean, Kyle keeps acting like, put it this way, he's like, York's the dad, Kyle's the teenager, he's 17, and York gives him a BMW, and Kyle crashes it in 2 months. 2 months, totals it.
Yeah,
and York's like, all right, I'll get you another one. Totals it in 2 months. All right, I'll get you another one. He's like on his 4th BMW, and he's in high school still. And at some point, it's like, man, maybe it's the parent. Maybe you gotta say, make it work with this Subaru or get a bike.
Yeah, he had to ride a bike for half a game.
Yeah, he didn't know how to write it. Maybe that was on him. Corey Soto says, what's lost in all this debate is that this has been a mass institutional failure, unprecedented. 3rd pick possibly done after 2 whole games. Yeah, man. I mean, they disposed of him like he was Paxton Lynch. I've never seen anything like it. Jamarcus Russell, Ryan Leaf, all guys that got more opportunities than the 3rd pick.
And here's the other thing. Do they really need a 3rd round pick? They have 11 picks. They have 3 3rd rounders this year. They're going to have probably 3 next year.
That's the thing. More risk on top of this. Not only the risk that Trey Lance is good somewhere else, how about the risk that the pick you trade him for just doesn't even make the team? You trade him for 84 or whatever. Like, that's what Trey Sermon was. You could be drafted in the next Trey Sermon. You could be flat out taking a guy that you cut.
Yeah.
Scary. Scary. Your reputation's on the line. Ken says, imagine the Niners know what they're doing and want Trey to beat Sam while waiting on, I'm not saying that, Brock Purdy to get healthy. If Trey balls, keep him at QB1. If he fails, Purdy. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Lucky Louise says Larry Krueger is hurting his credibility by talking trading Lance. I don't know what's going to happen. We just discussed it for like 20 minutes. I mean, there's reasons on both sides to feel confident in your prediction, but we'll see what happens.
If he nails it, he's going to be the only one. Like, yeah.
Let's put it this way.
Yeah.
There was a report that the Niners inquired about trading for Kirk Cousins at the Combine. Who do you think they were offering?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Yeah.
So, I mean, they're not going to get Kirk Cousins. They're not going to do that. But there's a price. I don't know what it is.
Sorry,
I just don't get.
I had to text my kids to bring the dogs in. They're going crazy right now. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Lucky Luciano says, I just don't get it. How can you give up on 3rd overall pick after 4 career starts? Because it's what the previous guy said, Jordan Matthews. There's no accountability here. Kyle can just keep saying, Dad, the 8th BMW you bought me broke. But it wasn't my fault. It was not my fault. There's always a different reason why it broke. Could you you're a billionaire, man. Like, it's nothing to you. I'd like another BMW, please. And Jed's like upset because he has like a bad relationship with the older son, Jim Harbaugh. So he's like, whatever you want, kid. Whatever you want, man. Just let's be friends. And Kyle's like, yeah, we're friends. Get out of my room. Adam says, for both of you, what is more likely, Lance or Purdy gets traded? Niners never have a franchise quarterback under Shanahan. They're not trading Purdy. Purdy can't pass a physical. You can't even trade him.
Purdy doesn't even go against the salary cap. Like, whether he's great or he's a QB2, QB3.
Fans would flip out if you traded him. He did too much. People want to see him start another game just to see if he can keep it going.
I think they're going to flip out if you trade Trey Lance as well.
I agree with that. That's another reason why I'm not sure Jed greenlights this, even if Kyle does. Prince KO says, hot take, Kyle really wants to prove he can develop quarterbacks. Trey will start for the rest of the season, barring injury. He still believes in him, while front office doesn't. I would agree with that, but again, he's got Brock, who he can take credit for, and he can hedge and say, I didn't develop Trey, but it's because he got injured, and I did develop Sam Darnold, so I'm still a genius in your face. He could do that. Also, Grandma's Boy was on TV last night. So good. It's so good.
Grandma's Boy is amazing. Yeah.
So Kyle is definitely JP, but the main guy in Grandma's Boy, that's Mike McDaniel. Silky Smooth Smithers says, can we cut Kyle and sign Denzel Washington? Dude is a legend in RTT. Seems like Kyle likes to act like a head coach. Bring in Denzel to steal the role. Denzel Washington.
Is that a football player or is that
no? Just a coach. Just to act as I'm getting Al Pacino. Errol Tolbert says, let's not forget Purdy lit up his first year in college, then fell off his last 2 years. To think the same won't happen in the NFL is malpractice. That's a good point. You know, he has a limited skill set. He has some tricks up his sleeve, the spin and roll left, but there's only so many things he can do, and he's not going to like wow you with his arm.
Can we acknowledge that there's so many damn question marks in regards to both Brock Purdy and Trey Lance? Like, it's not just Trey Lance that has the unknowns here. Brock Purdy's coming off a UCL injury. We have no idea if he's going to have mental issues because of that, or Trey Lance, right? Like
both of them.
He may be both of them, right? We don't know if he's going to have arm issues. We don't know how long it's going to take to recover. Like, we can't.
I can't. And again, people still be like, "Hey, don't blame Kyle for this." It's like, all right, dude. To me, this is awful, and there's only one person who could get blamed for this. But hey, man, let's see if it doesn't happen this year. And Sam Darnold, good luck. The fact that Kyle Shanahan likes to go cheap at quarterback and offensive line is an insane combination to me. Pick one. Freaking pick one, not both. Are you kidding? And then every year that they don't win the Super Bowl, it's one of the two or both. That falls apart at the end.
Two most important positions.